All right, today we're going to be taking a look at how to send an email that's appropriate for academic or professional settings. You can access your email a couple of ways. If you're in your Google account, you can go to this little waffle and you'll see the icon for mail. Go ahead and click that. And that takes you to your student email account. Now, some of you may have other accounts that you prefer to use. Generally speaking, when you are emailing your teachers or students, maybe regarding a school project, anything related to school, you're going to want to use your student account just to keep it consistent and to make sure that your email doesn't go into the spam folder, which is like junk mail. So go ahead and to begin a new message, you're going to click compose and you see this box come up. Now in the to, that's where your the recipient's address goes. So you may know it by heart, or you can click on that and your contacts will come up. Now, but as you can see, if you begin typing somebody's name in there in the system, you'll see their address pop up and it will go, or CC and BCC. CC stands for carbon copy, and that's used when you have somebody who maybe you're not emailing directly. Perhaps you don't need a response from them, but you want them to be part of the conversation. So maybe your mom asks you to email your English teacher about a late assignment, and she wants to be sure that you've done it, so you could CC her. So she'll be copied on it, but the message will go to both her and your teacher, but it will be addressed to your teacher. BCC is blind carbon copy. And that means that the people who are receiving your email don't see who you copied on that. I generally don't recommend doing that. I think that it's important to keep the people that you are sending the message to apprised of who else is receiving that message. But there are certain situations where you might want to use BCC. I do use BCC, for example, if I'm sending a group message out to multiple students or to parents, so that they don't necessarily see the email addresses of everybody else in the group. So on occasion, BCC is appropriate. You want to make sure that that you put a relevant and meaningful subject. It doesn't need to be particularly long, but it should be clear about what it is your email is addressing. So I'm going to say that I'm emailing Miss Mazzola about third period students, or let's say third period student tests, since we just finished midterms. Now, in the body of the message, which is this area here, you want to write it in letter format. Sometimes I get emails that seem like one big run-on sentence or just a chunk of text, and that makes it tough for your sender to interpret your message. It doesn't look as clean. So part of an official, it just doesn't look as clean when you don't separate the text with paragraph breaks. So part of that is an appropriate salutation. Now, when you're emailing your friends, you can say, hey, yo, call them by their nickname, that's fine. But when you're emailing an instructor or boss or somebody in a professional setting, you want to make sure that you address them somewhat formally. So you're not going to write, Dear Miss Mazzola, because this isn't a letter. To Because that's way too informal for the professional setting. An appropriate greeting, depending on your relationship with the person, might be, hello, Miss Mazzola, hi, um, or just the person's name. I suggest using a salutation. It just makes it a little bit kinder. Uh, then you'll have a comma, press enter, skip a line, and begin your message. Okay, so I've addressed briefly what it is I'm contacting her about, and I've closed by thanking her, and written my name. Now she knows who I am, but some of your instructors may not know you by first name. So sometimes it's best to use your full name. Uh, Also, if you're emailing an instructor for one of your classes, you might write third period CP English 9. That just helps them identify you and what it's. Okay, so you'll see a couple options down here. This is where you might change the font of your email. It will automatically, this one defaults to sans serif, which is fine. I don't recommend using fonts like Comic Sans just because they have kind of a informal look, and just you want to stick with some of the more traditional sans serif, Arial, Times New Roman. Um, This will change the size of the text. So if you have somebody that you're emailing who maybe has some vision problems, or you yourself do, then you can change that here. These are the font tools that you see in Microsoft Word and Google Docs that will allow you to bold certain words or phrases, italicize them or underline them just for emphasis. You can change the color of your text if you have a reason to do so. Sometimes that will help things stand out. If maybe you need a response or something's urgent or there's a certain date involved, you might want to use red because that will be in stark contrast to the rest of your message. You can change the alignment so you can have it centered. Generally speaking, you wouldn't do that for an email. Um, Anyway, you can play around with the different text settings. What's specific to email are attachments, and this little paper clip down here, it's not a Q-tip, will allow you to attach items to your email. So let's say you have an assignment that you need to turn in and you have it written on your home computer. You're going to click on that. This pulls up various folders where you can find what you want to attach. Select your file, click open, and you'll see this little bar open up, and now that is attached. You can also attach things from your drive. So works much the same way. You find the folder that it belongs in and just click to select your file. Let's see. I want to send her To Kill a Mockingbird Chapter 1 Spark Notes, so I'm going to click that and then click Insert, and now that's attached. If you accidentally attach a file that you don't want sent, you just click the little X and it deletes it. You can also attach pictures, or sorry, there's also the option for emojis. Generally, this is something that you'll want to reserve for your personal emails with your family or your friends. I wouldn't suggest using them when you are emailing your instructors or peers, just because they are a little bit too informal for an email in the academic or professional setting. But there is that option. You also want to avoid using texting language, so don't use IDK, BTW, LOL. Reserve that for your friends. This is you want to have your language match the context or the setting. And in an academic setting, you want to use semi-formal, business casual language. Also important is proofreading your email. Some have the option for spell check, so if you'll see this is highlighted with red, little red dots, I can right click on that and it will give me options. Now, since that's somebody's name, I know that it's spelled correctly, so I'm not going to replace it. But if you do see certain words, make sure that you fix those before you send them, just because it leaves the impression that you're thoughtful and that you've taken the time to draft a message that's clear and academically appropriate. And when you're done, you can click send, and you'll have verification that your message has been sent. And you can view that here. Now, maybe I want to forward that message to somebody else, which means I'm going to take the same text of that message and maybe I forgot to include another person who should have been on that. I can start typing their name and you can draft your message and send it to that person. Over here, you have your folders. So I changed my mind. I don't want to send that message, so I'm going to click discard. Over here, I have different folders in my inbox. You can actually create folders. So if you say want to have all emails related to a certain project, maybe you're working with a group on the Decades project and you're trying to organize it, you can go ahead and add a new folder. If you click more, it drops down uh, and makes more folders visible. So your inbox is where the messages that people send you are going to come. Starred or maybe messages that you feel are important. So if you star here, that will go into this inbox. Important, you can also tag it, so you can click this and this will give you various options to show the message as being read, as starred. You can move it to a certain folder to save it. Maybe it has important information that you need to hang on to. You can flag it. So maybe this is just social, uh, or you can, and there you